Let's date forever. Here's your weekly dose of relationship fuel with Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Today we have Raashi and Ansh. Their love story started at a Harvard networking event. With every study date, their friendship grew deeper. New traditions were born from a desire to get to know each other better. The realization that relationships require active and intentional work guides them to love daily. Shortly after graduating their masters, they founded LoVita, Love Vitamins, for relationships to share small doses of intentional connection that partners of all kinds can use to help build healthier relationships. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited to be here.
It's great to be here.
Hey.
Oh, no worries. It's great to have you here, and we love hanging out with other podcasters. So how cool is this?
Likewise.
And other podcasters who talk about relationships and believe what we believe.
Yes, funny story, when we started our podcast, we didn't have a podcast originally. We were working on a blog, and one of our biggest inspiration were you guys, because the first thing that I went online and tried looking up other podcasts who talk about relationships and how to build healthier habits and stuff. And you guys came up right away. And that was like, at first I thought I was the only one who was doing this. It was sort of a bummer that there are other people there.
No, I think it's great. And thank you for sharing that. I love that, because we did the same thing when we talked about first starting our show. We were like, okay, well, maybe there's something out there that already exists that's talking about this from that similar point of view about proactive relationship care, proactive relationship education. Like before you hit a rough patch, after you found the person that you want to do life with, where do you learn how to keep it amazing? So I really love that. And I love that you're contributing to this conversation as well. So how long have you had your show now?
Just a year. We finished a year, I think, a couple of days ago.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool. So talk to us a little bit. How long have you two been together? Tell us a little bit more about your love story.
Yeah. So as you know, we started off by meeting at a Harvard networking event when we were both in our masters. I think this was maybe 3-ish years ago. I can't remember the date. It feels both like forever and not long enough. I think that's the way that Ansh likes to describe it. And it was, I think it was just an organic friendship that kind of blossomed. I was looking to make new friends, wasn't really looking to date anyone. And I found this guy who was making conversation and enjoying this event. And I'm like, you know what? I think I want to get to know you better. And I think one conversation led to the next. And from the very beginning of our friendship, we just saw we had so much in common. And peeling back the different layers of the things that we believed in and the things that we wanted to pursue, it always made me feel really excited to return to our conversations and our relationships. So I think it was very natural for me to be like, okay, cool. I think I kind of want to spend the rest of my life with you. This sounds fun.
Wild. So what were you both studying?
We were doing a master's in management over there.
Very cool. So from that first meeting, was it on? Was it just like, I think I found someone really special here?
I think what we were interested in each other, the biggest thing was there was a lot of mystery in each of our stories, and there was a lot of curiosity from the other person to get to know the other one better. So we started going on study dates because exams were coming up. So we started spending more time together. But I think after like a month or so, Raashi had to go to her home away for like a few months. And at that point, we were texting online, texting on phones and stuff. But what happened during that time was we naturally ended up building some traditions. For example, one of our tradition was share a song Saturday. So every Saturday, you're sharing a song with the other person and telling them why you shared it with them. And that sort of built up, and we had like 3 or 4 traditions, one for each day, and we were chatting a lot with each other. And then when she came back, we had a long and deep conversation about this, on why this has been so good, why do we enjoy doing this, and it just kept going on, and we've had like tons of traditions.
I think that was a pivotal moment for us, going from being in person and having a chance to just be like, hey, you want to grab a coffee and maybe study a bit and then play pool, to, you know what, I still miss talking to you. How can we make this a fun experience, even though we're not really next to each other? And I think that what that let us do was get creative with how did we want to deepen our relationship. And like Ansh mentioned, we came up with a whole bunch of different traditions, basically as reasons or excuses to share our stories with each other. And at the end of the day, to me, that was this realization that regardless of how far or near this person is very dear, to not get poetic, but it was exactly how I felt. So yeah, from the start, I guess you could say.
I love this idea too that as areas of your life has changed, you've adapted your communication language to that scenario and to that situation. So obviously, like, you had a means of catching up in person and going out for coffees and whatever else while you were there in person. But then as life has changed and as you've had that gap and that separation, you've been able to adapt and find a really great method that's worked for you to still be able to create that level of connection and continue to build that bond. Because I know that Sammy and I have had to do that as well, like when we've been apart for certain times, or even if we're away only for a couple of days, that our communication definitely changes. Like the way that we share things and the way that we stay in touch and keep the fire alive definitely changes.
So tell us a little bit about LoVita, Love Vitamins. Where did this idea come from? Did it evolve from your own awareness of like building these little rituals and traditions?
Yeah, I think the story is quite similar to yours. What happened with us was we were talking to our friends about all the fun activities that we do for our relationships and how that helps us build more deeper and meaningful relationships and trust and bonding and stuff. And what we found was we weren't getting a lot of stories back. And biggest two reasons we found for that was people just didn't have such practices, such traditions, such intentionality in their relationship. They were just going on. Or even when they did have, a lot of people were not comfortable sharing them. For whatever reason, they didn't want to be vulnerable or they wanted to keep their stories and their frameworks private. So we wanted to start LoVita as a community where people can come in and share what they do. And we try to lead that with all the activities that we do. And we try and brainstorm and come up with new activities that people can do at home in like 15 minutes or, a short span. It's not as much as advice, but more actionable content that, hey, these are the things you can do, step A, step B, and take it to what will work for you because you are unique in your own way, which is giving some ideas, spin it off however you want for whatever works for you.
To build off of that, I think the philosophy really is small doses of love, right? Like what can you do in those daily exchanges of your life to build intentionally upon your relationship instead of just waiting for a date night once a week? And some people can't even, don't always prioritize even that. So we really wanted to make love accessible and easy to consume. And that's really been the philosophy around everything that we do in our daily lives and what we wanted to share with others as well.
Yeah, I love that idea because I know that kind of early or middle of our relationship, we weren't going on proactive date nights and things like that. And I think one of the barriers for me was that I built up this story in my head that a date night needs to be this big, overly romantic gesture and it needs to be this, like, we need to go out to a fancy restaurant and we need to get all dressed up and like, there was this formula that I'd said, well, if we're going on a date night, it has to be A, B, C, D, E, F, like it has to be all these things. And I guess like it doesn't need to be that at all. Like as long as there's intentionality behind it to share some quality time with your partner and remove some distractions or do something fun, like it doesn't actually need to be this huge big thing that I brought it up to be. And so I love this idea of bringing just that little bit of intentionality to kind of your everyday life to continue building that and then still continuing some sort of date night practice as well.
I think to build off of that, my favorite way that Ansh describes this is it's peeling back the layers of everything that's happening around you to kind of just keep getting more curious. You could still be having the same exchange. You could still be downstairs making dinner together, but get curious about, well, why is like salt, fat, acid, heat important when you're cooking? And let that dive into a tangential conversation, which can be a very deep and intimate, meaningful connection moment. You didn't even have to go anywhere far. You were in your kitchen for that connection to happen,
Yeah. And I think another thing I want to call out is most of us are familiar with this love doctor concept. People go to the love doctor, the radio show or whatever with your problems and they'll give you advice. What we are saying, you don't have to wait till that. Use love vitamins, these small doses, so that you never get to a point where you have to go to a love doctor and talk about your problems. You're just talking to your partner and you're solving whatever problem you have with each other, having a deep, meaningful conversation and being patient and listening to each other.
Yeah. So can you share a couple of more of your little habits and rituals? So you had Share a Song Saturday. What else did you have going on while you were apart?
Absolutely. I think we Wishful Wednesdays, Share a Song Saturday, Thankful Thursdays,
Tabloid Thursdays, which was a photo because we hadn't had the chance to, I mean, I had stalked him on Facebook, so I did the creepy stalk. I wasn't sure if he did the stalk or not. But the polite way was like, hey, I want to share photos with you about like stuff in my past and share these stories with you as well. So Tabloid Thursday was a fun way to exchange photos from like our childhood and things like that conversations that we were craving to have with each other, which we couldn't. Most recently, I think my favorite one that we started was Digital Digest. What was it called? Just Digital Digest. Mm-hmm. And what the philosophy around that was, I was traveling in Europe for a few weeks and I really missed the fact that random little things would happen in the day, like Ansh would go through the day doing his chores and clean out the vacuum filter. And I just, I missed that. I missed like being at home watching him do like the regular mundane things. So I asked if we could instill this tradition where we would share a photo of something totally random, but like very specific and detailed, which you wouldn't like talk about, but you miss when you're not there. And so that's the kind of photos that we would exchange. And then when I'd call him later in the evening, I'd be like, oh, so you cleaned the vacuum today. I'm so recording. It sounds so silly, but it's for us, this has become a travel tradition now. So anytime someone travels away from home, we share photos of really random specific things like cords all messed up in the corner. Look what's waiting for you to sort out when you come back home.
I really like this. And Nathan and I talk about this idea of like the difference between hanging out with your friends or catching up with your friends. And sometimes when you haven't seen someone for a while, you're deep in the catch up. Like, tell me about everything that's been going on in your life, in your world. I want to know about what's been happening. But when those catch ups occur with such gaps in between, that's how you spend your time. You spend your time catching up, not actually hanging out with that person and just sharing life. And this is something that I've really worked on with some of my long distance friendships, particularly, is like, I want to share the like more everyday parts of my life with these people and vice versa. I want them to share when, their kid has done something cute or someone has cooked something really lovely, or the pot plant that they've repotted is now growing, or the cross stitch that they're partway through, or, the cool find that they found on Facebook Marketplace. Like, I want to experience those smaller parts that make up the big life, not just like, I got a promotion and this is going on with my family, or about to take this big holiday. Like, I want more of those small things too. So I really love that you found a way to do that.
Yes.
So tell us, with this idea of love vitamins, what's been the one that's hung around the longest in your relationship? Because I think sometimes, like Nathan and I have gone through phases where rituals have really served us for a period of time, and then they've kind of dropped away and we've found new ones, or there's other ones that have layered on top of each other. But what's one that served you for the longest duration in your relationship so far?
So I think one that we've had, which is ongoing and probably we'll have it forever, is what we call conscious coupling. It's sort of a date night, but more.
So conscious coupling, it started off with a combination of meditation dates, because I really like the idea of doing like the concept of meditation, being intentional, holding the space, diving deep, staying with our emotions. But I also like the concept of being able to share that with my partner. And eventually this idea organically grew into what we now call conscious coupling, which is a time that we kind of hold for each other, where we're going to dive deeper either into some sort of like a workbook activity. Like there's a lot of schools out there like the Gottman Institute or the School of Life that have provided amazing resources. They've done a tremendous amount of research, right? And put together these amazing resources. And sometimes in our daily life, we don't get time to sit and be intentional in building our relationship vocabulary, right? Or building the attunement in our relationship. So conscious coupling is a time where we are going on a date night. We are going to either do something fun, like make a new meal together or go out to a new restaurant. But the intention is also to bring one of these resources with us and dive deeper into what does it mean for us? How can we apply it? And either one of us is allowed to kind of suggest what we want that activity to be like. It's kind of, I think yesterday only Ansh was mentioning that there's 5 different types of apology languages. Like there are 5 love languages. And that's new for us. And I'm super excited to dive into that in our next conscious coupling session.
What she doesn't know is I heard it from your last one.
Yeah, we did release an episode about the apology languages not too long ago. And that was a new framework for us too, when I think it was a guest who shared it with us.
It was, yeah.
And we were like, okay, cool, this is exciting. There's a whole other thing that I can learn about myself and Nath, how cool. But yes, the apology languages, because that's a skill, that it's inevitable that you're going to have conflict in your relationship. From conflict, you're going to have to be able to repair what's part of a really great repair, a really good apology. Yeah, so I love that idea. So, and that's something that Nathan and I have probably got better at later in our relationship, like the idea of bringing ideas and resources and tools in to go, hey, let's have a conversation about it. And not every tool is for every toolbox. There's some things that don't work for you.
But it's one of those things that you can also try on. Like you can try it once or twice and see how it goes. And if it really doesn't work for you, then you can push it to the side. But it is definitely worthwhile trying some of these things and giving it a go. And yeah, if it works for you, then awesome. And if it doesn't, then you can let that one go. I think for us, like we haven't dedicated date nights, I guess, to some of these concepts. But one of the things that's worked pretty well for us is we both like to read. Like Sammy likes to read a lot more than I do, and is a lot faster.
I think Sammy reads a lot faster than you.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think I read quite a lot faster, so I can get through more information.
Yeah, I'm such a slow reader and need time to digest it all. So. But yeah, what we do is we're both reading books at any one time, and quite often we'll bring the little concept or whatever it is, even if it's just the last chapter of what we were listening to or what we were reading, and we'll just have a quick chat about there was this really cool thing that I just read about, and sometimes it goes nowhere. Sometimes it's literally just this is what I was reading about and it was interesting, and here's a cool fun fact to share with you. And other times it does actually result in, a bit of a longer term thing or something that we decide to try and embed into our relationship or into our life.
Absolutely.
I think it's a very important thing to keep learning. One of our philosophies or value stone is consume to create. So we constantly are consuming sources from our inspirations from books, podcasts, and so much more. And that helps us bring all whatever we've learned in our conscious coupling sessions to create new frameworks. And conscious coupling is just the placeholder where we have these discussions. I think one of our most proudest framework that has helped us tremendously over our relationship, it's called the emotional status dashboard. And we recently talked about it in our podcast, Love Vitamins for Relationships, where it's a framework which helps you communicate your feelings with your partner non-verbally at the time of incident, whenever emotions are heightened. Because in that framework, we demonstrate how if you're angry or upset, you necessarily don't want to have a conversation right then at that moment. You want a moment of pause, but you also want to loop in your partner and let them know something's going on. So that framework sort of helps you put your emotion up on a board where your partner can see, and then just hold the space for you to come back and have a conversation with you.
And this is one of those frameworks that we've evolved. I think we're on version 7 now. So we've evolved a lot since it first started, but it was also the reason or the moment that I knew that Ansh was the right partner for me, because a lot of the times when I would feel strong emotions, my defense mechanism was to shut down, go into a quiet place and be like, please leave me alone. When I'm ready to talk about this, I'll come to you. And he was willing to hold that space. But his request, which was a very common one, was, I just want to know, can I help? What's going on? Can you give me something? And my response to that always would be, well, if I could tell you what's going on, we would not be here right now. I would not, this would not be a problem. But at the same time, I used to wonder, I'm like, how can I communicate this to him without having to launch into a whole 2-hour conversation about why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, which I haven't even sorted out yet. And Ansh's response to this cycle that we were going through for several months was, let's get creative. And he came up with, he literally on a piece of paper, he just drew an emotion bank at the top. And then he was just Raashi, Ansh. I can't even really remember what that first version looked like, but it was very simple. It was just take an emotion, put it against your name when you're feeling it, and then that's it. I'll just know that you are sad right now, and you have confirmed that you are sad. I don't have to read and kind of just try to make out what you're feeling and then walk around in eggshells in the home, wondering, am I the reason you're sad? I mean, I might be, but I don't know. So it was a very powerful tool for us, and we still use it today to get through some of those more difficult conversations.
I really like that you shared that, because I think one of the very early personal development tools that I learned was the emotion wheel, and that idea of building your own vocabulary around feelings, because often people have got the very basics of I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel scared, and they can't really dig further than that happiness. Okay, well, is that excitement? Is that joy? Is that pleasure? Is that desire? What is underneath that happy, the more specific feeling that you're feeling? But I think it's hard to sometimes diagnose that in yourself or identify that in yourself, let alone then figure out why you might be feeling that feeling and communicating that to the person that you're sharing a space or a life with.
Especially if it's something that's just happened as well, you've just been triggered by something, or you've just happened and you've got the raw emotion, that top level emotion, and then it does sometimes take some time for you to actually go, well, what is the actual thing that I'm feeling in the first place? And then to even dig further than that, oh, well, why am I feeling this, or what has actually led me to this feeling?
I think one of the meta reasons I love this tool so much personally is because as I'm going through that emotion wheel, trying to figure out which one of these emotions am I resonating with right now to communicate with my partner, I also jumpstart my introspection process and my journey into understanding what's actually going on. Because in our relationship, we've both agreed, even if I use an emotion, it might not be at the end of the day the story that I tell you, but it's me saying, I'm getting started with the fact that I think I'm really angry right now. But at the end of the day, this could be a story about sadness, and that's fine. But it helps my brain start thinking about, well, what are the emotional undertones of what's actually happening here? And then go through that internal journey before I can have a conversation with him. And that's the last piece of the conversation.
Yeah. So you've both talked a little bit about some of the love vitamins that you're using in your romantic relationship, but I'm really curious, what are you both doing in your relationship with yourself? Raashi, do you maybe want to go first? Have you got some habits, practices, things that you do daily, weekly, monthly to keep your relationship with yourself fueled up?
Absolutely. So I am a huge writer. I consider myself to be a very creative person. I love reading and writing. And so I have a whole art studio downstairs. And that's very much of a me space to be able to create and play with colors and pens and just, explore a different side of me that's very different to the analytical, logical, emotional side, which I'm normally engaging all the time when we're working on LoVita or just interfacing with my partner on a daily basis. So for me, art is very much of a self-practice in love. That and then writing. I really enjoy writing for myself. We write for LoVita as well, but I love writing for myself in the morning as a journaling and grounding exercise. So I promised myself a long, long time ago that regardless of what happens in the day, I want to make sure that I have spent at least 5 minutes doing something that's selfishly and purely for myself. And oftentimes that journaling in the morning where I'm just taking a few moments to write down what's going on with myself, that is my me time. And it makes me have such an amazing outlook for the rest of the day because I'm check, I took care of me. Even if I don't get anything else accomplished today in terms of self-love, I did just a little tiny dose of love for me. And I think those two are not only daily practices, but I also have an annual tradition where I'll go on a reflection retreat with myself. So it'll be a solo vacation, which the first time I did it was very hard. I was just oh my God, I'm going to travel by myself. This is going to happen. And I am going to be the only company I keep for 4 days. Okay, let's see how this goes. And it turned out to be one of the most beautiful experiences to the point where I encourage everyone that I meet to take that chance to really travel with you, because you don't really know what you're going to find until you've been with yourself in that silence and solitude for just a few days. You could come back from it absolutely hating it, but hey, at least you had a chance to experience what it would be like. So that's definitely an annual one for me as well.
Yeah. And thanks for asking this. I think this is such an important question because all the things that she does makes me love her more. And we strongly believe in just keeping yourself more attractive and working on yourself so that your partner can love you more. So for me, I love running. I'm a runner. I just finished a marathon a couple of months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big achievement.
Yes. And I like to go camping. One of my goals for this year especially is just spending more time in nature, less screen time. I sort of have, social media is a big challenge for me, just getting off of it. So just trying to spend more time with my dog, go out in nature. But one of the other things that I'm working on, and this might sound a little strange, is I'm working on practicing how to fail. I hate to lose. It can be board games, it can be just cooking, for example. Like sometimes I make a dish and at the last step, I would intentionally mess it up. And it's sort of an exercise for me to get comfortable in failing so that when I do actually fail, which is not planned, I can be okay with it and be like, okay, I've failed enough times. It's fine. Things go bad and it'll get better. So it's sort of me working on my own patience and grounding myself and assuring myself that no matter what happens, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I love that idea of, learning how to fail and getting comfortable with failure and things like that. Because really, you're not probably pushing yourself all that hard if you're always going to succeed. If you're going into it knowing you're going to succeed, are you actually pushing yourself further or harder than your body's probably capable of? Like, you're probably just being that little bit reserved. You're always like taking the safe option. Especially if you're doing something like a marathon as well, like there's got to be a level of pushing your body beyond what you can reasonably expect your body to do. And I'm sure that there's got to be some failures along the way. Otherwise, that journey to running a marathon is going to be a real long journey if you're only ever doing tiny little incremental steps that you know that you're always going to achieve at. So
Yeah, I heard this idea of collecting 100 no's and this idea about shooting for opportunities that you believe are outside of your reach because you're really trying to collect the no's, but what you kind of end up reprogramming your brain to do is shooting for things that you maybe are stretching for and surprising yourself with the yeses that come when you're trying to collect those no's. And I really love this idea because it might be, in our world, maybe it's like pitching to go on to a really big podcast or shoot for a really big speaking opportunity or to shoot for a project at work or taking a innate hobby of mountain biking. Like the no might be trying to get off of a jump and like nope, didn't land that one, but like you had a go at it and it's stretching yourself to have a go at things because you're comfortable, you're building that resilience to accept the no or challenge yourself with the no. And I think it's a really cool idea. Hey, so thank you so much for both of you sharing a little bit about some of the habits that you've got in your own lives and then in your romantic relationship. If there's one thing that you would encourage couples, particularly in the first few years of their relationship, a habit, a practice, a love vitamin, what would it be?
I think my personal recommendation would be don't miss the small opportunities that you get in your everyday life because you're waiting for that next big one. That next, I'm going to plan amazing for their birthday, or, we have this amazing vacation coming up. And, you kind of just like you center all of your energy on that. And what I think by reprogramming our minds to focus and also look at the daily opportunities of, hey, you know what? I'm going to help out and fold the laundry, or let's try a new meal at home, or, hey, I just found this really cool article and I want to talk to you about it. Let's do that over candlelight. Why not? Like looking for those kind of opportunities, I think helps couples realize that the majority of the time that you spend with your partner or whoever you want to spend your life with is going to be in those smaller moments. Those bigger moments are like goals or like they're achievements that you're working really hard to get to, but they make up a very small fraction of the total time that you're going to be spending with your partner. So why not intentionally invite and look for love opportunities in those daily connections from the start?
Yeah, I would say be intentional, but that I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot and very casually. So I would say peel through the layers, as you said. What I mean by that is be selfish in your relationship. If you see somebody's talking about how things work for them, be selfish and see how it can work for you. Go back home, discuss, try it out. Don't just leave it at, oh, that was so cool. You see a magic trick. Don't just stop it. That was so cool. That was so beautiful. Go back and be like, oh, wow, what if they did something else? How did they do it? Discuss, talk more. And honestly, you build better relationships with more familiarity with each other. The more time you'll spend with each other, the more you look at each other, the more you'll talk to each other. You'll pick up signs that are not very obvious. Sometimes I enter the room and I'm just looking at her and she goes like, what happened? She knows that something's happened just because of my expression. So just discuss more and talk more. And, it's not very difficult.
Yeah.
So over the past 12 months of running LoVita and exploring this idea of these love vitamins, is there something that you've heard or a love vitamin that you picked or you've got from someone else that you're looking to implement that you haven't tried yet, but you're like really keen to try and implement in your relationship?
I think we just try it off right away. It's very difficult for us to wait, and
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to work on. But
No.
from all the discussions we've had with other couples and experts, we try and push them to give us activities that we can do at home. And the moment we get it, immediately after the call, we're just doing that. Forget about dinner. We just.
I like to say that the flavor of the week becomes whatever that guest has introduced as their like drug of choice. That's our flavor of the week. So I remember we had a lady by the name of Kim Sorrell, and her tagline at the very end of our conversation is, "What would love do?" And I kid you not, all week, I would just point at him and be like, "What would love do in this situation? Ansh, tell me, what would love do? Don't tell me what Ansh would do. What would love do?" And it just, in that podcast, we learned about shifting your focus to thinking about it from this perspective of love. Right. But we've had other speakers that have come and presented amazing frameworks and simple tools and techniques to get you out of either this way that you've been thinking about something or something that you might have been struggling with. And Ansh is absolutely right. We really don't wait to take those love vitamins.
We think of ourselves as relationship junkies.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a good thing to market, so we don't put that out, but that's what we are.
No, and really, like what you're suggesting is that love occurs in these little micro moments. And one of our guests, Dr. Jackie Gabb, she did the Enduring Love study on long-term relationships, and this study got a lot of like wide spread critical acclaim. It's gone on to write a couple of books about the study, and she also was very influential in contributing to some of the relationship advice that appears in the Paired app, which is an app that just prompts couples to ask one another questions to deepen their love. But the common theme that came out of long-term relationships and what helps keep them healthy, happy, thriving was exactly what you said. It was all of these micro moments. It's like, why do you feel like you're still in love? Or why do you love your partner? It was like, because they bring me a cup of tea in the morning, because they prepare lunch for me, or because they can read when I really just need a hug. And it's all these tiny, small things that contribute to this overall healthy, happy, thriving relationship. So I really like that you've shared that, and that your show is about sharing that and finding activities and things that you can do at home, generally for the cost of nothing, just your time and energy, to make your relationship even better. So thank you so much for being here and sharing a little bit about your mission and what it is that you're trying in your own relationship. To say thank you, we've provided some early childhood education to children in Kenya. This is a really special project, and it's been made possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much.
No worries. So Raashi and Ansh, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about LoVita, how can they do that?
So our website is lovita.blog, where we blog about our frameworks, and we put one almost every month. And our podcast is Love Vitamins for Relationships. It's available on all platforms. And you can reach us out on our social media channels by @LoVita Love Vitamins.
Amazing.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been sort of from a year ago, it's been a desire to have a conversation with you, just get to know you better. And
Yes.
I'm glad we got
Perfect 1 year anniversary present for us.
Oh, yes, I love
Amazing.
it. Yeah, well, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it really does, it warms my heart that not only are we able to inspire listeners to consider what they might be able to do, but to spark other people to start leading these conversations as well. Because I always think that you measure a leader by their ability to create other leaders. So that really makes me feel so warm and fuzzy, because I really do believe that with better relationships, we can have a better world. So thank you for championing that conversation too.
Thank you for creating the space. Thank you.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.